So here we go. Some of the best stuff that I think of happens while I'm out hiking, and then when I'm driving home, it happens a lot. So here we are. There was a video already made on the trail that was pretty cool stuff I've been chewing on for a little while now, and I figured on the way home I'll talk about the other stuff that I was chewing on. Been chewing on for quite some time on this particular route home. It always brings up the same illustration, the same metaphor, parable, if you will, the same understanding of something that's so relatable to me anyway. Hopefully it'll be relatable to you too. And Hondo's going to be like side-eyeing a little bit here and there. He's still very afraid of the car for some reason. I haven't figured out how to help him feel a little bit more secure in the car. He just doesn't seem to dig it. But he does know that it takes him to some cool places. He's just not so sure about all the rocking and rolling that we get into sometimes, bouncing around and stuff. But that's kind of where this is headed, is that on this particular road to go back to Colorado Springs. I'm currently in Canyon City, and it's quite a ways. You know, it's about an hour and a half from where I live to get here, and there's a lot of construction on the way, a whole lot of construction. But they have the road narrowed down in some places, and they have cones everywhere, and there's equipment everywhere, and basically, you know, you need to be very careful about staying in your lane. And that's a perfect thing. That's something that I heard years ago, and I totally dig it and live by it, that I'm gonna stay in my lane and request politely, and maybe not so politely depending on how aggressive it gets, that you stay in yours, you know. And I would expect you to get super invested in, you know, keeping your lane clear also. We don't need to gun up to, you know, defend our lane necessarily right off the jump, but, you know, I'm all about, I'm going to just stay in my lane, and really would rather not have to defend my lane real hard. It'd be nice if we could just all play by the understanding that your thing is your thing, my thing is mine, and let's be clear about it. But to illustrate that on the highway experience, excuse me, it's not always clear. It's not always 100% clear, which is why we have some help, you know. Consider that maybe spiritual help, universal help, angels, however, if you want to translate it, or however you might translate that, guides, you know, spirit animals, whatever speaks to you. That if we translate that to the metaphor of our lane that's under construction, there are guidelines. They aren't the roadway isn't always painted with, you know, temporary lines. So they have cones up sometimes. They have a rumble strip that used to be relevant for where the lane used to be. So I'm driving and I might be correct. I might be in my actual lane and still hit rumble strips that are going to make me wonder, make me question, make me go, wait a minute, am I really truly okay, or am I, you know, whatever? So I have to look for other things besides just the stirrings of, you know, just comfort or anxiety. I have to look for other indicators and see, am I in fact in my lane, or am I straying out? And excuse me, when I look for other factors, I can see their cones. I can see sometimes the paint, you know, it's a matter that they did the paint lines, but they didn't, you know, couldn't change the rumble strips. There was no reason to. They're going to be repaving all of it, so why bother, you know? And I can see the lane of travel in front of me upside the lane of travel next to me. Sometimes my lane may not look like what it normally would if I was truly in a predictable lane. Sometimes if somebody's swerving towards me, my lane's going to need to move over a little bit to accommodate the fact that somebody's fixing to get into mine. That may mean that in a metaphorical, spiritual sense, or metaphysical sense, that I'm going to need to, you know, protect myself in some fashion, spiritually or emotionally, physically, whatever, listening very carefully, you know, and taking in the context of the entire situation. Excuse me. Also, I have a guidance system on my car, which I think is hilarious because I didn't even know these things existed. It's been a minute since I've had, you know, a car that wasn't 15 years old. You know, excuse me, and went without one for a couple of years, going through a divorce. You know, the car was not at the top of the priority list. You know, there are other things that need to be paid, like rent and, you know, food and that kind of thing. So cars weren't a thing. But anyhow, when I bought a car a couple of years ago, it was 15 years old, and it didn't have any kind of modern anything. I mean, nothing. It was in my budget, you know what I'm saying? So when I recently bought another car, much more updated, and only a couple of years old. It has a navigation system, and it has this lane thing. I don't know what it's called. I don't remember. But as a matter of fact, let me turn that on right now. Yep, it's got this guidance system in it. You know, think about this metaphysically. It's got a guidance system in it that will alert me. There's a visual on the dash here that will alert me if I'm getting out of my lane. It'll show me. And this particular thing, it has the ability, if I turn it on, if I choose to turn it on, if I choose to listen, see, and adhere to that guidance, remembering the metaphorical part of this, right, or the metaphysical understanding, it will actually guide me. It'll actually take over the wheel and move the car back into the lane that I need to be in. And if I want to, I can fight against it. I'm not just all about because it's a car and not, you know, I'm not going to trust my car to be flawless. Spirit and universal principle, God, you know, etc. I trust that to be flawless. However, my car not so much. But the idea, though, is that if I start to stray and I have that engaged by choice, it's not a, you know, a mandated thing that when I turn my car on, it automatically goes to that 44 on the speedometer. That if I start to go out of my lane and I choose to disobey it moving the wheel back over, it will self-correct. I don't let go of it entirely because, like I said, I'm not, you know, willing to go that much into having that kind of faith in my car. Excuse me, or testing the odds, you know, but it's designed to assist with, allow this to go. And the more that when I first engaged it, I didn't really know what to experience from it. I'd never seen it or heard about it before. And so when I read, you know, what's this knob, what's this button, and it said that's what it did, I didn't really know what that meant. It meant that the steering will self-correct and it will adjust to the paint lines on either side and make sure that you're somewhere in the middle and not encroaching, you know, or leaving, going off the road one way or the other. And excuse me, when it detects that I might be swerving or swaying, it will automatically, the wheel will move. And when it first started happening on this particular ride home, I forgot about that. When that started happening and I felt it kind of, you know, I was trying to go this way or that way or something, I realized that, oh, my car is trying to tell me that I'm actually swerving out of the way. I just felt it starting to correct, and the automatic thing that my instinct was to pull away and go the opposite direction. When I looked at what was going on about half a second later, I'm like, oh shit, you know, I'm actually I'm out of my lane. I'm starting to stray over a little bit. Thank goodness nobody was there, but I had lost, you know, track of whatever I was doing, just in my own mind thinking of something. And my car understood already that, hey, you've engaged me, I'm your guidance system, and I'm telling you and I'm helping you, you know, get back over. It wasn't huge, you know, whatever, because it doesn't let you go, you know, 8 feet out of your lane before it starts self-correcting. It's almost immediate. And it doesn't start actually moving until a certain threshold. So I mean, it gives you a little bit of a visual, as it depends on how quickly you're moving out of your lane. But I was actually finding myself fighting against it a bit, which was hilarious when I realized that, oh my God, if that's not the perfect illustration of what it is for us to have our own internal guidance system, our God, our guide, our spirit, Jesus, Brahma, Allah, you know, whomever it is, whatever deity or understanding of sacred that we subscribe to, if we subscribe to that, which I do, yep, absolutely, and lots of people do. But if I'm engaging that, I'm asking for that, I've said please do, and I'm bucking against it, how many times have I found myself knowing internally, and I'm not talking about my monkey mind getting busy telling me what to do. I'm talking about my internal guidance system of, yeah, I'm pretty sure I need to do that. But I want to buck against it because, well, wait a minute, you know, what are you doing? And sometimes I don't even really understand why I'm bucking against it. It's just that it's something different, it's something new, there's a change, which is what it was to adapt to this new thing in my car, was that this is something bizarre that's now taking over how I'm driving. What the hell, you know, I'm not sure. And then I realized, oh, you're fighting against a safety device, a guidance system. If that's not any more relatable to the spiritual journey, I don't know what is. But what's really cool is that now, as I realized, that's what that said, that's what that meant in the handbook is, to relax and ease, let it do its thing, and don't take your eye off the road and don't take your hands off the wheel. It's not meant to just go to sleep. I've had people tell me they did that. Yeah, I've got a self-driving car. I'm like, yeah, that's not what my handbook says. It didn't say anything about it self-driving just because it'll self-correct. Cars can still be, quite wrong. Spirit is not, universal law is not, and all that fun stuff. However, cars are subject to flaw, just like we are. And so, no thanks. I don't think I'm going to go that far with it. But the idea that if I keep my hands and I just allow that, I tested it, that's test the spirit. Perfect example, right? I tested it where it was safe to do so, where there were no other cars. It was a long stretch of 4-lane highway, and this particular road, I do this one a lot, and I tested it where I'm going to just deliberately kind of move over that way a little bit. And if I don't turn my turn signal on, my car has no idea that I'm intending to change lanes, because it won't keep me from changing lanes and, forbid it. It's a matter that if you're not using all the safety precautions involved, then it doesn't know that I'm deliberately trying to go over there. I have a reason. It understands it as you're sliding into somebody else's lane and that's a safety issue. No. Pardon me. So when I tested it though, I realized that, I have to just keep my eyes and my hands in conjunction with one another and allow my hands to not be so grabby and quite so much OCD about, I gotta clamp down and what's this doing? And allow my car to do what it is designed to do. Let it do exactly what it is designed to do, and test this booger and see, does it really know what it's doing? And I'm happy to say that, yeah, it sure does. It knows very well. And sometimes I do get kind of, lulled and listening to music or listening to something else, or just in my own thought, and I'll just kind of be rolling along, and all of a sudden I feel the wheel starting to kind of guide me one way or the other, and I go, and it snaps me back into right here, right now, Kate, pay attention, don't wait, get up to speed here with what's going on, and, pay close attention, because that will help me to not cause an accident, not stray out of my lane, not, be completely oblivious to very unsafe situations that I'm actually creating because I've lost the moment temporarily. It guides me back as it's vibrating the wheel a little bit and lets me know, hey, come back here. It's sort of like a little miniature rumble strip in the wheel. But what it doesn't understand, what it doesn't know, and what it doesn't accommodate for is when there's road construction, unless the paint lines are there for it to know what the reference point is, it has no way of knowing. And so those rumble strips, as I'm driving along and they're in the middle of what is now the new lane as it's transitioning, it's going to be kind of confusing perhaps, and I'm going to have to go with my guidance system, my normal guidance system that's more high-tech than anything I've ever had before. And now I'm going to think about the metaphysics of this. I'm going to have to go by faith of what I actually see, what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing, the line of traffic, all of that. And so sometimes we have to move by faith, not by sight, right? And that's kind of what that is. Moving by the faith that my car knows already, the protective measures are engaged. It's more high-tech, it's more safe, and it feels better, and it seems, like, wow, this is a much better ride. I like it better. The experience feels much better. However, I do have to navigate those areas. If I want to go places where I really want to go, I still have to be able to navigate even without that most high-tech technology being available to me. The most high-tech technology that I have at that point in all the road construction is my eyeballs, my hands on the wheel. Death grip still isn't necessary. However, paying close attention and not sidelining, doing other business, or losing my focus, being distracted doing something else. So on that note, I'm getting ready to come into those areas in just a few minutes, but I do have to make a major transition onto another highway, so it's safest for me to not be chatting while I'm doing that. I just thought that was a great metaphysical understanding of what to me was 3 or 4 or 5 trips of that, thinking, that seems to come up consistently, so let me make a video about that. But anyhow, I hope everyone's well. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you again soon. Be well. Bye-bye.